Hello, my name is Tony Beers, and this is Movie Grades.
And just like the movies, we play out our last scene.
And for being a genius, Tony Stark does some dumb things, and one of the biggest dumb things he does is he tells the Mandarin where he lives. Now, yeah, this is something that an arrogant person like Tony would do, and I could see him making this dumb mistake, but, this is really dumb. I mean, and he doesn't really have a plan for this. He just kind of waits for the Mandarin in his house, in his armor. He just, when is the Mandarin coming? Which can't be good for his anxiety attacks that he's been having in the movie. He's all paranoid. Oh, when's the Mandarin gonna attack me? So this was a very dumb move for Tony. They could handle this scene a lot better. Tony could have grabbed the microphone or the camera and, WWE style, and said, "Mandarin, I'm coming for you, brother," something like that. And in that way, he's still arrogant, he's still being macho, but he's not as dumb, because if he says he's coming for the Mandarin, then he's out going looking for him, and he's not telling him his address and then waiting for him to come to him, especially since he really has no plan for when the Mandarin does come. But then again, Tony is rich and famous, so it's possible that people knows where he lives already, and this is the reason why superheroes have secret identities. And Tony is so dumb, at the end of the first movie he says, "I am Iron Man." So for a genius, well, I don't want to say he's stupid, but let's just say he's not very wise. Okay, now finally on to the most controversial thing about this movie, and that is the Mandarin. Here's your big spoiler alert. See, the thing is that the Mandarin is not really the Mandarin, or Ben Kingsley is not the Mandarin, let's say that. He is just an actor that Guy Pearce's character set up to be the Mandarin. It's kind of a scapegoat, so people say, "Oh, look over here so you don't see what I'm doing over here." So that's basically what he's doing. And I was extremely disappointed by this, and especially when I first saw this reveal in the movie, I was pissed off, okay? I was about to give the movie an F right there, up until Guy Pearce says that one line, "I am the real Mandarin." Now, after hearing that saved this movie from getting an F, but it still disappointed me, because I wanted to see the Mandarin. Now, I actually shouldn't be that shocked by this, since, that's what they did in Iron Man 2. I mean, they mixed the characters. They mixed Whiplash with Crimson Dynamo. And again, I don't want to say it's ripping off Batman Begins, but you can't deny it. I mean, this is the same thing that happened in Batman Begins. I mean, Ken Watanabe was not the real Ra's al Ghul, even though they say he's the great Ra's al Ghul. Liam Neeson was the real Ra's al Ghul. So the similarities can't be denied. Now, I've heard somebody in their review say that this would be more acceptable if Adrian or Aldridge Killian, or Guy Pearce's character, if he was played by an Asian actor. And I agree with this. I would have been more accepting of this, and it would make more sense to me and other comic book readers. The thing is that Marvel and DC have changed white characters to other ethnicities to add diversity in their movies, which, okay, people can accept that. But here's a chance where a character is already a different ethnicity, and then you change them to a white person. Why did they do this? I mean, I'm still upset over Bane. You know, Bane should have been Hispanic, but they made him white as well. So I don't understand why they did this. Makes no sense. I mean, did they just do this for the sake of a twist? I mean, this ain't no M. Night Shyamalan movie. It doesn't need a twist. I mean, the first Iron Man movie was great, and it didn't have a twist. There is absolutely no reason why they couldn't have had a more comic book accurate Mandarin in this movie. Now, some would say, well, the power rings he has is, oh, it's too unrealistic. And I'm like, really? I mean, in this movie alone, you have Aldrich Killian, who can spit fire and regrow limbs, you know. If he can do that, what's wrong with the power rings, you know? And we're talking about a universe where they have Chitauri aliens and the cosmic cube and Thor's hammer. You know, with all these things, you can't have the Mandarin's power rings, really? In the comic book, Mandarin's rings are alien technology, okay, that he finds. They've already had the Chitauri aliens in the Avengers movie, so it's perfectly logical for Mandarin to find the Chitauri technology, forge them into some kind of rings that he has, and, you know, take over the Ten Rings terrorist group if he's not the leader already, and then, you know, be a terrorist threatening Iron Man and stuff, and then Iron Man has to come in and stop him. And see, there you go. There's your movie. I don't understand why they couldn't have done this. And they've even done this before on the Avengers Blu-ray special features. They've got a short where a couple finds Chitauri technology and they use it to rob banks, you know. So it's perfectly logical that Mandarin could have done the same thing, could have found some Chitauri technology, and then gone from there. You know, it would have been the same thing, only, you know, much grander, much more epic, you know, on a larger scale. And then Tony would have to overcome his anxiety to finally fight the Mandarin, and you know, there you go. There's your movie. If the filmmakers had used the plot that I just described, the Mandarin would have been much more comic book accurate. It would have tied to the Avengers with the Chitauri technology. It would tie back to the first Iron Man movie with the Ten Rings terrorist group. And it would validate Tony's anxiety that he's having over the events that happened in Avengers. Some people have said that the reason why they didn't have a more comic book accurate Mandarin is because they say that the Mandarin is a racist stereotype character, and really, why? I mean, just because he has the long hair and the Fu Manchu mustache and the robes and stuff, you know, I think, I'm not sure, but that is, you know, traditional Chinese clothes and hairstyles. So how is that racist? You know, if that's what they did actually wear and that's how they style their hair, how is that racist? I mean, would that be racist if you had a Scottish person and they're wearing a kilt? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. There's some people that say, oh, well, you know, it's just the Mandarin. Who cares about the Mandarin? You know, he's not a big, huge villain, you know. And to those people and to the filmmakers, I say you should have a little bit more respect for your source material, because the Mandarin is considered to be, you know, Iron Man's big villain, you know. I mean, would these people say the same thing if they did this same thing to a really huge, well-known villain, say like the Joker, you know? What if at the end of Dark Knight, you know, some nameless gangster comes out of the shadows and says, you know, oh, that guy with the green hair and face paint, he's not the real Joker, I'm the real Joker, you know? Or what if they did the same thing with Lex Luthor? You know, what if at the end of the Superman movie, you know, with Gene Hackman, Gene Hackman says, I'm not the real Lex Luthor. It was Otis the whole time. Ned Beatty, he's the real Lex Luthor. I mean, that would piss a lot of people off. I think I would be pissed off anyway. So I really, really wanted to love this movie. After all, it's Iron Man. And I have to admit, there are some good things about it. But the more I think about it, the more I dislike it. The twist was unnecessary and inaccurate to the comic. The scenes with the kid were slow-paced, schmaltzy, and boring. The scenes with Tony out of the armor were also slow-paced and boring, and very similar to the scenes we've seen in Iron Man 1. It doesn't directly rip off the Batman films, but the similarities are undeniable. The comedy in this movie is way overdone. Somebody really needs to restrain Robert Downey Jr. The other 42 armors looked really cool, and the action scenes they were in were really cool, but the time that they're in the movie is just so brief, and that they're completely destroyed at the end of the movie, so it almost seems completely pointless to have them in the movie at all. Now, I know a lot of you like this movie, and that's cool with me, that's fine, but I just happen to dislike it. So my final grade for Iron Man 3, I'm sorry to say, has to be a D+. I'm Tony Beers, and I'll see you next time.
Toxic Pop has a new Facebook page. Like it to see pictures and keep informed about our upcoming events and videos. Go to www.facebook.com/toxicpop1. A link is in the description.